The Kentucky Wildcats suffered their first defeat in a long time to the hands of their bitter rivals, the Louisville Cardinals. And while the Cardinals haven't had a victory in more than 5 years, there are some worrying signs that raise some red flags on the Pope administration. What's cooking? Welcome back into another edition of Now We Can Talk Like Fans here on ESPN Louisville Plus. As you know, we do everything that we can to talk cards, cats, bourbon, and bluegrass. My name is Justin Sofro, and we're going to do that today. I want to be fair, and we're going to put out a video today talking about the Kentucky Wildcats. It's been a little bit. It's been a lot of Cardinal-heavy, Cardinal-centric news and topics that we've discussed here. We got to give the blue side a little bit of love. It would be very helpful if I had a blue-sided person to talk about it here on the channel. But we're going to talk about the Kentucky Wildcats and the situation that I've kind of perceived with Mark Pope, and I wonder if any of you may have some trepidation about what the future for Kentucky basketball looks like under one Mark Pope. First off, though, I want to go ahead and throw this to a tweet that was put out by Tristan Ferris of, I believe he is with a Sea of Blue, and he had posted these comments, but I really want you to hear them more than they are written, and I kind of want to get your feelings on how Mark Pope sounds talking post-loss against Louisville.
You know, I'm not ready to tell the story yet, but at some point we'll talk in detail about our pre-game experience at Louisville, and it was out of character for us. And that's young and new, and so, you know, I actually don't want to. I don't want to keep our emotions in check. It wouldn't be exactly the words. I'd say I want to keep them focused, and I want to keep them intentional. So I want our guys to have all of the emotion. First of all, what's the point if you can't have all the emotion? But I don't want our guys to be run by their emotion. I want them to be able to focus their emotion. And that's, I know that sounds 30,000 foot level stuff, but that's I'm being very specific on that. And so that's one of the things with being an athlete, especially being an athlete at Kentucky, is this ability to kind of not dumb down your emotion, not bridle your emotion even, but to just channel it and have it laser focused so it's intentional emotion, so you're controlling your emotion. Your emotion is not controlling you is a big deal. It's a learning process, and it's something that we'll continue to work on this year.
While slightly off-putting, I like his overall message. That doesn't bother me. I like what he's saying. I like him talking about getting those emotions under control. And yes, we can throw out the excuses that can easily be made of it being game 3. It's game 3 of the year. These guys are young. There's some young players. But it's a transfer portal era where a lot of these guys are not freshman players. They are not, diaper dandies, if you will. It's not the John Calipari teams of old where you're bringing in 5 freshmen, starting and, lace them up, ready to go. One of my issues, though, with it is the overall demeanor. And I understand he's not John Calipari. He's not even Rick Pitino, though. That's the main thing that I want to touch on a little bit. He's not either of them. He's not going to hold court. He's got this sullen demeanor. And I've seen Happy Pope. I've seen, Pope when he can get a little bit boisterous. This did not seem like him. And I understand anytime you take a loss to the rival who you hate, who you grew up and maybe I don't know if Mark Pope personally has that fire in him, but I feel that he feels the pressure. And this is a question that's going to develop and that we're going to have to continue to look at and maybe put under a microscope over the year. Maybe Kentucky will bounce back like everybody's telling me on Twitter. And the one thing that I'm starting to see, and let me just go ahead and get out there with my take on this. The take overall is it's a role reversal. But Buddy Boy, a Billy Bob in Paducah. You're talking to a Louisville fan. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you right in the eyes. You know what? Let's actually let's get the serious camera. We're looking at each other right in the eyes. Let me adjust that. This is a role reversal. I mean, look at the game. Look at everything that we experienced with Louisville and Kentucky. Louisville had the better talent. You had a Michael Brown, a guy who John Calipari definitely would have had, who the last 15 years with the talent level that Kentucky had would dominate Louisville. And then I would suffer, and then we'd see Rick Pitino, and he'd tighten up, he'd get that tight sphincter, and then the next thing you know, Louisville basketball is in a hole that they can't get out of. And that's what happened to Mark Pope. And he also had the comment that I didn't love was the comment about getting, or well, I guess I enjoyed and I appreciate that he wants to work on it. But the fact that they're professional athletes now. At this point, when you're playing college sports and you're getting paid, you're professional athletes. At this point, you can throw out whatever you want to talk about when it comes to the idea of amateurism. That's gone. It's dead. It's a dinosaur like Tom Izzo if you've been around for that video. But at this point, if you're playing college sports, you should be able to have the demeanor, the mindset to have it together. So there are questions that can be asked. What happened? What happened in that locker room, or what happened prior to the game? I think a lot of people, what they're taking from it, and I don't know if, I guess, pat on the back, Louisville fans, if that's what it is, said that they were rattled, that Louisville fans got in their head, that, Jay in the stands flipping double birds at Otega away, where that's what threw him off. I don't know if I believe that that's what it is. I wonder, I don't know. I mean, you throw dollars and cents, you throw in pennies in there. I don't know if that's what caused an issue. I'm not sure what, and I don't really love here's a story that's going to be a little bit mysterious. I'm not really going to tell you about it, but there's a super secret reason. There's a super secret reason why this didn't go the way it should have gone. You can't know right now, but one day maybe I'll tell you. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I didn't love that. The biggest question that I have and what I'm starting to worry and wonder about is this job too big for Mark Pope? And I don't think that's an unfair question. I understand people love him. He won the national title when he was a player. He's a Rick Pitino guy. You brought Rick Pitino back in the fold. There were lots of good feelings there. But the problem is you're not Rick Pitino. You're not John Calipari. You are, his ego, his ability to be verbose, to speak, to rally his guys. I don't know that he has that. And we talked about, you had Jaden Strebel and everybody when the hire was made talking about, I don't know about this. Did we Kenny Payne ourselves? I don't know. And I'm starting to wonder if in the end that may be a true answer. Obviously, we're going to have a long time before we know the truth. But right now, there are a lot of red flags that are popping up. And I can tell a lot of Kentucky fans are going to do the same thing that we talked about. Same thing that I would have said to you 7, 8, 9 years ago when I had Rick Pitino here. We'd lose that game against Louisville or against Kentucky. Louisville would lose that game. And then I'd say, well, you hate to see us in March. I hope we get him in March. If we see him in March, we're going to win that game. I feel confident we're going to win that game. Maybe, maybe not. What I can tell right now is Louisville now has a coach who goes into that game and prepared to win, and he knows how to get it done now. And you can throw back, and yes, I guess you can push back a little bit on me about the game last year and the way that happened. When it comes to Louisville was coming out of the hole, and I understand. I also poo-poo and disagree with the cloud of Kenny, or not of Kenny Payne. That was a cloud, but the cloud that happened before that and the whole Kenny Payne stuff. You can only make excuses for so long. But during that portion of the season, that first third of the season, Louisville was really trying to find their footing and trying to get up off the mat. Immediately, and they were without Cason Pryor, and that's fine. You can say the Jaden Claytons, you can say the injuries, you can say whatever. And I know Cason Pryor didn't play this game, so it's really hard to use him as the factor. But at the same time, there were a lot of those excuses that are easy to make instead of thinking, maybe our guy's a little wound too tight. Maybe our guy can't handle this stage. Maybe our guy's not ready for the rivalry as it is and as it will be now that both teams are going to be competing at the highest level and going at each other's necks. Let's switch it back to the other camera. I can't look over here for too long. Obviously, a lot of this we'll be telling in the coming years when we see how the Louisville-Kentucky game plays out. But right now, we were talking about a $22 million. I know you can talk about how the money was paid out or whatever, but Kentucky boasted that. $22 million paid for this roster, paid for a team that they hope can and will win a national title. And they, Pat Kelsey said it as well. He thinks that they will be competing for a national title, as hopefully Louisville will at the end of the season. But right now, if you can't galvanize your players to not be playing scared, to not be playing rattled by being shaken, and maybe it's the way I look at it is maybe it's the coach in the way that he's handling this. How is he handling the pressure? How is he handling a hostile environment that isn't the cozy confines of Rupp Arena? Because this is the first time that I've seen Kentucky basketball not look like Kentucky basketball. And that's not a good sign, especially when you push out a Hall of Fame coach, and this is where you go, a Hall of Fame coach who dominated that rivalry. And maybe there's a lot of people who don't care about the rivalry. Maybe it doesn't matter. I don't believe you. You're a liar. You're lying to yourself. But the one thing I will say as a Louisville fan is thank you. Thank you, BBN. Thank you, Kentucky. You have taken the curse, the sins of one Rick Pitino, and I think they have now transferred over to your program. You didn't have to welcome Rick Pitino back. You didn't have to at the same time. You did not have to bring Mark Pope on, but you did. Instead of going to get another coach or trying to look for somebody else, Mitch Barnhart did what was easy, did what felt good to him. And now you got a coach who I don't know who's up for the job, who now has the pressure, the sins of one Rick Pitino. And I don't know if this rivalry will ever be the same. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Are you worried about Mark Pope? Are you worried about the future of Kentucky basketball under Mark Pope? Are we going to be talking about maybe a couple years from now, a new coaching search? I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. If you haven't already, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon to stay notified for all of our latest videos. And I'll see you guys next time. Cards, Cats, Urban Bluegrass. See ya.